A story of three youths. They are brothers by blood and also brothers in suffering. We meet them all together in their home after they have been separated for several months behind bars. Jaffer, the eldest brother, spoke first. He talked about his frequent detention and his suffering as a political prisoner.
My first arrest was approximately 1 year ago. I was at my aunt's home, sitting with my friend. Then they stormed the house and detained us for 45 days. Then after 2 months, they called again. They said, "You are wanted." I asked why. They answered, "Illegal gathering and demonstrations." I just ignored these silly accusations. But when I passed through a security checkpoint, they caught me. On the first arrest, there were some iron rods and wooden stick in my aunt's house. The officers of Samahij police station used these things to beat us with. They also hit me with their guns. My hand was severely injured. Even the bone appeared. I am also suffering a lot from a broken rib in my rib cage as a result of the beating.
Instead of treating him because of the brutal arrest, the only thing he got from his jailers was torture.
Last time they took me to a clinic in the dry dock prison, who transferred my case to Salmania Hospital. Nevertheless, instead of taking me to Salmania, every time I have an appointment, they took me to Samahij police station, who tortures me and bring me back to the cell.
Hassan, 19 years old, was sitting beside his brother Jaffer. In terms of age, he's just a young man, but with respect to his sacrifices, he's gone through a lot, beginning with his first arrest 1 year before the revolution.
I was on the wanted list for 3 months, during which the police were frequently storming our home and vandalizing its properties. I was already hiding outside the village until they caught me through a trap. They detained me in dry dock prison with all the political figures, such as Aoun and Aoun. They were always raising our morale that we'll be released soon. Then the revolution started, and the crowds gathered at Pearl Square, and we got released.
The breeze of freedom which Hassan breathed didn't last long. Less than 2 weeks after his release, security forces and joint Bahrain Saudi armies, and through a tacit Western diplomatic support, launched a brutal crackdown on all opposition factions. Hassan was returned back to the jail.
During the martial law period, we were in the Criminal Investigations Directorate, where we were severely tortured. They kept us blindfolded in rooms where you can't differentiate the day and night. For 3 or 4 days of continuous beating, even on our way to the toilet, then they transferred us to the central prison, Al-Khola.
Hassan had been transferred to dry dock prison, where he was subjected to worse treatment. During 16 days of continuous beating, while he was handcuffed from behind and blindfolded, his jailer exercised various forms of torture on his starveling body.
Most medics were detained with us, on the same ward. For 16 days and 24 hours of beating, nothing changed except the torturer, who worked on a shift basis. Consequently, Zakaria al-Ashiri lost his life.
Despite all the suffering he got behind bars, Hassan participated again in peaceful demonstrations. A stun grenade was fired on his head, and police arrested him for the 3rd time. Hassan, who fainted because of the injury, awoke in the police station on the impact of beating by merciless jailers.
I was continuously receiving threats of rape. During my first detention, one of their torturing techniques was stripping me naked.
Rape and sexual molestation are the most heinous means of torture used against political prisoners in Bahrain. They have also been used to force detainees to confess to offences they didn't commit. In addition to this boy, human rights defenders have published many chilling stories of male and female detainees subjected to this sort of treatment.
Our mother was in a tragic situation. She couldn't sleep and was always crying for her arrested sons. After 1 month of my arrest, and in conjunction with the BICI report presentation, they released me.
Before the ink was dry, the Bahrain regime quickly returned to all the crimes mentioned in that report, including crimes against children. Aoun is still 17 years old, and according to international law, he is a child and must be protected by law. However, all these obligations were blatantly violated.
After 3 months of my second release from jail, I participated in a huge peaceful march demanding political reforms and the immediate release of political prisoners and figures. Meanwhile, the mercenaries stormed the village and ran after us while firing with several kinds of guns, including shotguns. I escaped. A policeman was running after me, pointing his gun on my head. I just took a look to know the distance between him and me. It was less than 3 meters. He fired at me with birdshot, and a pellet struck my eye.
Ahmed lost his sight after he was jailed and prevented from proper medical treatment. He joined a long list of freedom fighters who lost their eyes for freedom in Bahrain. It is difficult listening to the tragedy of the Aoun family. However, just like most Bahrain families, their patience and sincere faith in the issue they are struggling for helps heal the wounds suffered in the country.
I don't regret anything that happened to me. We are not rioters. I, as a citizen, demonstrated peacefully to demand my rights. It's my right to demonstrate, criticise and call for the Premier and the King to step down. It's all part of my freedom of speech, which, sadly, we don't have in this country.